You are tuned into Inspire FM 105.1 FM. It's Friday, 23rd of June, and the time has now just gone 10 o'clock. Welcome to Mother's Planet, a show where there is always something to talk about in a productive and beneficial way. I'm your host, Neelam, and today on my show, I am privileged because I have not just one, but two guests joining me. And they are Imrana and Yasmin. Now, listeners, I will formally get them to introduce themselves a little later in the show. But first, Assalamu alaikum, ladies, and welcome to the show.
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam. So how are you both?
Okay, doing okay. Just did the school run this morning, and Fridays are my days for doing different errands. So, yeah. This is like a delight to be on this morning with you, Neelam. It's
like to say, yeah, this is one of the highlights, yeah.
Definitely.
Yes. So, Imrana, how are you finding the heat?
Alhamdulillah, I'm glad it rained because even though it was a bit muggy, but there was a bit of a cooler breeze, so that was quite nice. I did catch myself complaining a little bit when it did get a bit too hot. But I know we shouldn't do that because we should kind of enjoy both rain and sun. So yeah.
No, I'm not sure. I think I've turned into a bit of a moaner.
Okay.
And I don't know if it's my age, but we'll talk about that later, about age and all the things that come with it. Yasmin, how have you found the weather? Oh, Yasmin, I can't hear you very well. I don't know if you've got your... yes.
Alhamdulillah. The weather's been really, really lovely. My garden is blooming with beautiful flowers, but it has, I have also complained about how hot it's been.
Oh, yes. So you've touched on a topic that I like to mention every week in my shows, the garden. Yes, I think last week I had Sister Shana on my show, and we were talking about gardening, and I felt like I was actually becoming a bit of a pro and maybe a little bit more green-fingered because I knew a little bit about myself and what I was doing with the garden, and I was able to share some tips. So I thought, yes. But then this morning I went out in the garden to look at my lavenders, which are really hard to kill. I have actually gone and killed them. They're not blooming. They're not doing... I repotted them, and I think I made the big mistake of repotting it because I'm not sure if it was deep enough for it or if I put the compost on it. So yeah, I have successfully killed my French lavenders, which apparently are really easy to maintain and are low maintenance, really easy to grow. So I think I've lost that privilege of saying I'm green-fingered because I'm not. I've actually... I'm going to have to replace them because I've told my husband, don't worry, these I will look after. So yeah, I have to secretly go out and get some today because I have felt. So Yasmin, you've talked about a blooming garden, so I'd like to hear what you have going on in your garden.
I've been quite blessed because I moved into a new house a couple of years ago, and there was an old lady that owned the house, and she has, over the last 60 years looked after her gardens, and she's got a beautiful front garden, back garden. I call it her garden because I've had no contribution whatsoever. What's been really lovely is since we've moved in, every month there's a new bloom, and it surprises me, and it's so beautiful because I love flowers. They're all different colors, they're all different types, and there's been a lot of thought put into where they go, what to plant, and then maintaining it, because it is, I'm not good at plants, and they always die for keeping in the house. So to maintain it and make them bloom, it's really hard work. So I really appreciate this lady's garden.
Mashallah, that's lovely. And you know what? You have to give some credit to yourself because you've been there a couple of years and they are blooming and they have maintained. So obviously you are doing a grand job at taking care of them, and not like myself because I've been in the house that we've been in for a very long time now. And the selling point for us was the garden because she had really maintained it well. And I always say to my husband, if she ever came back and saw the state of the garden now, I think she would literally have a heart attack because it's terrible. It's nothing like what she had left it. So yeah, I'm hiding it, and I'm hoping she never decides to knock on the door. And she was one of those ones that would get up at 3 a.m, my neighbors tell me, and water the garden. So she was really into her garden. So yeah, she would really literally not be impressed if she saw the garden now. Imrana, how about yourself? Would you say you're green fingered?
I'm afraid not. No, I struggle to keep alive. I managed to keep my family alive, alhamdulillah. But I think anything outside that sphere is actually quite difficult. I remember I was given a tomato plant as a gift, and I think that's meant to be pretty easy to maintain, but not for me because yeah, I don't know. It's just I don't think I ever have been. Partly the reason we're gardening because I don't like creepy crawlies, and I think there's something about that slightly puts me off. But there's no excuse for that kind of inside the home though when it comes to plants. So my husband tends to look after, make sure they remember to be, watered. And having said that though, my parents did buy me something I'm looking at right now. It's half alive. So
Okay.
I've had it for a while. So alhamdulillah, we're okay.
Half alive is always good as long as it's half alive, because if you could see my French lavenders now, you'd really be shocked at the state of them. So yes, half alive is good. So listeners, we are actually live on air, reaching out to all our listeners in Luton and surrounding areas through the airwaves at Inspire FM 105.1 FM. You can also connect through TuneIn via Inspire FM webpage, and this can also be downloaded on your smartphones on the Inspire FM app, so you actually have no excuse to miss the shows. We are also live as an audio on the Facebook page, so if you have any questions or comments or anything that you'd like to share on today's topic, please do there. But I am welcoming listeners to join in the discussion and share their thoughts on today's topic via text or WhatsApp on the studio number 07779 481 So you are welcome to send out any messages regarding the show. Okay, so today, listeners, I am actually going to be talking about an interesting topic with some lovely ladies, and it's about revolution cycling for women. In short, I will be calling it RCW, but I believe it might be RWC, so I might have switched it round. And I want to hear the journey of two lovely ladies that have come on this journey, and looking at perspectives of actually, I suppose, hitting 40 and now becoming a bit more health conscious, and sort of changing the stereotypical image that we all have of women not doing anything. I mean, I go back to looking at my parents' generation, and I know that working or doing any form of exercise for my mum was vacuuming, mopping, or doing the housework. Physical exercise for her, where she actually went out for walks, cycling, or anything that was remotely related to anything other than the house, was unheard of. So I think we're trying to break that this time round, and we're trying to get more women to focus on themselves. And while there is housework, and while there is housework that's burning calories, it's not always as mentally satisfying. So I want to hear some of the thought process behind RCW. But before I do that, ladies, I'd like for you to briefly introduce yourself to the listeners. If you don't mind, can I start with Yasmin? Imran, I know everyone's very familiar with your lovely voice, so I will get Yasmin to introduce herself to the listeners.
I'm Yasmin Begum. I'm a local GP, and I'm born and bred in Luton, and I'm a very proud Lutonian, and I'm a mum of 3 very active boys, alhamdulillah.
That's fantastic. So you are a doctor. So are you a GP or a
Yes, I'm a GP. I'm on a bit of a career break at the moment after having my 3rd child. I did continue working after the first 2, but then when number 3 came along, I kind of lost my mind. Back to work.
I have to agree with you because, mashallah, Yasmin, I have 6. So when I went from 2 to 3, I think that was the biggest change in my life, because when you have two, it was easier to do things in running around with them and doing things. But as soon as the third was born, the dynamics changed. We had to go for a bigger family car. We had to think extra at the dinner table. I needed an extra seat at the table. Yasmin, if I could just ask you to turn your laptop volume down, because my voice is echoing, and that might help not echo there. So so that's when the dynamics changed, when I went from 2 to 3. So I think after that it was like, bring it on. Doesn't matter how many I have now, I'm a pro. So Yasmin, you never know what the future holds for you. So there could be, I think an additional child wouldn't really throw you off guard now. I think you've mastered it. Once you've mastered that 3, you've gone over that hurdle of changing the family dynamic. So yes, I think you'll be all right, inshallah, with the fourth one when it does come, inshallah. So Imrana, I'm going to bug her because Imrana's mum of 2. So we're still waiting on the news for the third hair.
Thank you, Nina. So yeah, I've been to introduce myself, like you said. I mean, I've already listeners might know I host a book club show on Tuesday mornings. Outside of that, I'm a creative producer in Newton, but currently working for the University of Hertfordshire. So just working on outreach arts projects for young people. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Was there a question? I can't remember. I just started thinking. I'm so like in awe of both of you. Yeah, I was just thinking I was in awe of both of you because, yes, like you said, I have 2, and alhamdulillah, that's nice, and it's going. I mean, obviously it comes with its challenges, but yeah, it's one of those things that any more than that, I don't know. I mean, I have one of my sisters has 3, and I even noticed it myself from the outside, actually, how that dynamic did change with the third. So yeah, but alhamdulillah, two's more than enough. Thank you.
I think I can officially say that I'm done with having children, only because Imrana, I'm going to have to get you to share your story on this shortly. But I was out shopping yesterday, and we have a family wedding coming up. So I thought, right, need to go out, and I forgot that there's Eid coming up. So there's going to be madness in the town. And so there was madness, but I managed to shuffle through it, and I had my youngest in tow with me and my eldest. So my youngest and my eldest with me. And my eldest said to me, oh gosh, these high school children walk really fast into Bury Park. It's only 3:15. And I said, yeah, I think you and your brother are really quite slow walkers because you really take your time coming home. And I was shifting through. And as I did that, there was a puddle, and I walked around a car, and we just went. And this young boy, who I would have referred to as brother, turned around and said to me, oh, I'm so sorry, Auntie. I'll just get into my car. And I had to look around because I thought, Auntie? No, that's not me. And my daughter said, well, actually, kind of like, I think you are, Mum, now an aunt to these children, because he's probably about 28. And I said, no, he looked older than that. And she said, no. So yeah, I'm now officially an auntie, and everyone that I bump into now is calling me auntie, which I'm in denial about. And so yeah, I said to my daughter, I found it funny because if I had to speak to him, I would have said brother. I wouldn't have said son. I think that would have just been extremely difficult to say. But when he called me auntie, I thought, I think I have to respond with son now because I'm officially an aunt. So Imran, I know you have an interesting story around this as well. So I think this is something that goes with becoming 40, I guess.
I mean, yeah, I was going to say, you have my full commiserations. I think, yeah, because mine was in a local, the local corner shop, and a wonderful young man was wanted to know that we wasn't sure where the dhania was, the coriander, and obviously I didn't know that at the time. I was just kind of doing my little bits and getting a couple of things, and all I heard was auntie, and I carried on obviously doing what I was doing, and then I heard it again, and the third time I was like, auntie, and then I looked and he was looking at me, and I was like, oh my God, I do not believe that I'm being addressed like this. So I mean, even though it's happened once before, but that was from it was like a younger girl, so I thought, no, that kind of it's maybe a bit different. But this, you know, he looked much older. I thought, oh my goodness. Obviously, I told him, yes, this is the Danya, this is the, yeah. So it was, yeah, I think it's just really funny, but also, yeah, it's you know what, if I was to look in the beauty of that whole situation, it's the beauty that no matter what our age and no matter what is happening, actually in and inside of ourselves, we always, I would like to think, feeling quite young and feeling the same maybe we did even 10 years ago or 20 years ago. Maybe our bodies always feel the same way. But yeah, so it's all good. It's all good.
Yeah, absolutely. I have to agree with you. I think I'm in denial. And I like to think, and I think walking around with a pushchair and a 3-year-old, I still think that I'm probably can be classed as a young mum, but obviously not. He saw me do that and still called me auntie. So I did say to my daughter, maybe he was referring to you. So she looked at me and said, no, mum. So yeah, I think I have to just accept that that's just one of the things that's coming into my life now, and I have to embrace being called auntie now. I think I just have to accept that. Now, I wanted to ask a question because I know that with our age, and I make us sound like we're ready to retire, ladies. So apologies for that, because we're not. We've started life, and so we have had a lovely message come through from Sister Nasima, which I will read out now. Assalamu alaikum, Neelam. So lovely to hear Yasmin and Imrana on your show this morning. So proud to be a part of Revolution, and I just wanted to say. So I'm so thankful to Yasmin and Imrana for putting together the cycling element of Revolution in recent times. Months, a lot of hard work in the background from them and the Evolve team. I'm still scared of cycling, and if I'm honest, I'm very much still into my running, and I hope to do the London Marathon, mashallah, one day. But I think I'm tempted by all the fun they're having teaching this, and we have a wonderful network of sisters thanks to Revolution and all those behind it. Thank you so much, Sister Nasima. That's a lovely, lovely message. So I guess it's probably only fair now, with that message come through, that I ask a little bit about what Revolution Cycling for Women is, and what was the thought process and purpose around the group. So Yasmin, I believe I can head this question to you. So please unveil what Revolution Cycling is.
So Revolution Cycling, we started talking about it about this time last year, and it came about as a challenge, really. First of all, Revolution Women had been going for a year, and we'd had our first anniversary, and we were just reviewing the year and the things that we'd achieved, and we realized that we're doing lots of activities. We're doing running, hiking, there's some women doing swimming together, and various activities and classes. But the one thing missing was cycling, and some of the ladies in our WhatsApp group had mentioned it. But I wasn't a cyclist. I didn't know how to ride a bike. So I didn't really push it in the group, because I like to push things in the group. Imrana will know. But I didn't push this one. And then we had a committee meeting. They don't happen very often, but we had a meeting, and just by chance, the Brothers Revolution team were having their committee meeting at the same time. And I met with Imrana that day, because we have a mutual friend called Neela, and shout out to Neela. She introduced me and Imrana because Neil and I was looking for some cyclists to head our group, and I didn't personally know anyone, and the few that did come about didn't feel confident enough to lead a group. And I heard about Imrana and her friend Ferdous, who go on bike rides together with Neela and some other ladies, and I thought, okay, perfect, you're the Revolution Cycling Group. That's it, you've got no choice. So I met with Imrana, and it was a great meeting, and we had all these ideas. And then we saw the brothers, so I thought I'll introduce Imrana and Ferdous to the brothers side. And their reaction was, oh, right, we're going to do cycling. Oh, yeah, let's see. And it wasn't the most positive reaction. And I thought, that's it. I'm going to prove you wrong. So that's how we started, really. And there's two branches to our cycling group. So we have a cycling team who are all confident cyclists. There are about, I think, more than 20 ladies now. And they go on rides together. Not all together. It's, everyone's free at different times. So someone will suggest a time, I want to go here at this time, who can come with me? A bit like the running. We do group rides together. They're not that frequent, but we're just getting going. So inshallah, as we get more cyclists, we'll have more group rides. The other branch is stems from discovering that I'm not the only one that didn't know how to ride a bike. As a Muslim Asian woman in her 40s, there's lots of other ladies in our group. There's, I think, about 330 ladies in our group, and lots of them came out with, I wish I could join you, when they see our selfies, but I don't know how to ride a bike. That's when I thought, okay, let's see what we can do about that. So that's how we all started, really.
Mashallah, and that's fantastic to know that there's that many women that are involved in this. So I love the way you've taken it on as a challenge. So we are going to prove the revolution cycling for men, that we women can get on the road and can cycle. So Imrana, talk to me a bit about your story behind cycling, because, a woman in a hijab, our attire, our modesty, and then cycling, I mean, you can cycle in a modest way, but how, if I were to think of a sport to do, I think cycling would probably be at the bottom, only because I would think I wouldn't know how to modestly get on a bike, and with all my gear, I'd probably be so hot in this heat. So talk to me a bit about your journey on it.
Yeah, I mean, because I think you're right. I think I would have a similar viewpoint of cycling, because in my mind, you think of cycling, you think of lots of lycra and lots of tight-fitted, kind of exposing clothing. But actually, no, alhamdulillah, because I think of the way that visible Muslim women, who obviously have kind of a certain, I guess, definition of modesty, where exploring different spheres of, just not in sports, it could be, lots of different kind of worlds, I guess, especially when it comes to sports. And we know we can, look at, for example, the hijabs that now some quite, brands are coming out with. And also you can talk a little bit maybe about the Muslim Pound and why they're doing it. But in essence, the point is that there is a bit more options when it comes to now wanting to, dress modestly, but also kind of participate in sports. I mean, I think for myself, I did learn to cycle when I was younger. One of my most fondest memories is of my dad taking me, a few times to the park to learn to ride. And, I'm so glad I was able to do that. But then that thing happened of, it completely stopped after I think maybe by the time I got to high school, maybe after, I never did it. And then after that, I was like, when do I go back on a bike? Why? And now I'm married and I've got kids, and how will that perception be? Because from a cultural standpoint, yeah, I mean, it's like women cycling, like Muslim women cycling is just not a thing. I do notice sometimes if I am choosing just to go on a small errand, whatever, especially through certain areas of Luton, I feel like I'm getting stared at a little bit. But I don't know if that's just me feeling maybe a bit insecure, if it's actually happening. I don't know how much of that I'm projecting. But that's what's so lovely about being part of Revolution Cycling. I think there's this, it's the group kind of safe space to be able to do it together. And actually the amazing thing with Revolution is, even before cycling, they'd already kind of invested in like a modest kind of, I mean, Yas will be able to talk more about that, but obviously it's kind of that the right material, it's long, it's, so it's kind of those things. I mean, it's not, I wouldn't say those type of tops are necessarily perfect, but it's such a good starting point to get people into cycling, and then everyone can kind of explore what they want to wear and how they want to wear it.
Yeah. So would you say it was quite easy for you to get back onto the bike, Imrana, after so many years?
I was really nervous actually, because Ferdous had got in touch, because funnily enough, we kind of connected, and I was telling her how worried I was, but it was fine. Yeah, it was okay. I think he just came back straight away.
Oh wow, Masha. So that saying of you never forget how to ride a bike, or it's one of, I don't know. We'll have to speak a bit more about that after the break. So yes, listeners, we are actually heading over to a short commercial break, and I am joined by Yasmin and Imrana this morning, and they are talking about Revolution Cycling for Women. Now, as Yasmin has explained, Revolution for Women is actually a group where they are taking part in lots of different sports. And cycling is the aspect that we are going to be talking a little bit more about today and this morning. So if you are interested, I am taking in WhatsApp and text messages on the studio number 07779 481 822. But for now, we are heading over to a short commercial break. So your chance to go refill your hot drinks or cold drinks, whatever it is that you're having with us this morning, and join us after the break. Assalamu alaikum.
This program will continue after the break. Continue listening to Inspire FM. Inspire FM.
Inspire 105.1 FM.
Assalamu alaikum, this is Tez Ilyas and you're listening to Inspire FM on 105.1 FM.
Ready to be part of something extraordinary? Inspire Eid is coming back on June 28th and 29th, and we need volunteers like you. Want to boost your CV while making a positive impact? Join us and enhance your professional profile with valuable skills like event coordination, community engagement, and teamwork. As a volunteer, you'll gain hands-on experience and build a diverse network, from helping with event setup to engaging with attendees. Your unique skills will shine. Sign up today on inspireeid.org or call us on 01582 481810.
A large and elegant wedding and events venue in the heart of Luton, catering for up to 1,200 guests, with a 5-star food hygiene rating, plenty of parking, bridal suite, family rooms, and prayer facilities. Crescent Hall's the perfect venue for your wedding, events, parties, and conferences. We have some great offers for summer. Contact us to find out more. Call 01582 723386, email bookings@crescenthall.co.uk, or search for us online and social media. Crescent Hall, Luton. Conditions apply.
अगर आप अकाउंट्स या टैक्स की वजह से परेशान हैं तो घबराने की कोई बात नहीं। आज ही मुकम्मल राजदारी से हमारे साथ अपने तमाम मसाइल, बुक कीपिंग, पेरोल, वीएटी, टैक्सी अकाउंट्स, लिमिटेड कंपनी बनाना वगैरह के लिए राब्ता कायम कीजिए। हमारे मशवरे और खिदमत से आपको खुशी और तसल्ली महसूस होगी। याद रखें, अब्दुल कयूम ऑफ ए कयूम अकाउंटेंट्स लिमिटेड, 4A Waldeck Road, Luton. Telephone 01582 755252. Mobile 07961 188616. Email aq.accountants@hotmail.co.uk.
We're taught that when you leave the house, you say, Bismillahi, tawakkaltu ala Allah. In the name of Allah, I lay my trust in Allah.
वेस्टबोर्न फार्मेसी हफ्ते के 7 दिन सुबह 9 बजे से लेकर रात 9 बजे तक खुली रहती है। हमारी सर्विसेज में शामिल हैं ट्रैवल वैक्सीनेशंस, स्टॉप स्मोकिंग, डायबिटीज चेक, बच्चों की ग़िज़ा और बहुत कुछ। लुटन और डंस्टेबल में फ्री प्रिस्क्रिप्शन, पिकअप और डिलीवरी सर्विसेज भी की जाती है। इसके अलावा आप मेडिसिन के इस्तेमाल के लिए फ्री मशवरा भी ले सकते हैं। वेस्टबोर्न फार्मेसी, 198 B Dunstable Road, Luton, corner of Westbourne Road. Telephone 01582 419 432.
Chai and Chapati, the restaurant cafe in Berry Park, is not like other chai brands. Chai and Chapati offers breakfast, brunch, and dinner, serving tea and fresh snacks, along with a great choice of fresh curries, omelettes, and fresh chapatis, English breakfasts, masala fish, smash burgers, and tender chicken burgers. Mocktails too. Drop in to try Chai and Chapati's tasty new Desi Chai and find them on Instagram and Facebook. Great news! There's a new branch opening in Kingsbury, North London soon.
With famine, natural disasters, and wars destroying the Ummah, join Families Relief and help provide essential food, water, and medical aid to the most needy people around the world. Your donation will help save lives in Africa, Asia, and the Middle East. Don't delay. Pick up the phone and call us on 0114 365 4454 or visit familiesrelief.org.uk. Help us keep families together.
From the studios of Inspire FM, the time is now 10:30.
Good morning and Assalamu alaikum. Welcome back to Mother's Planet. It's Friday, 23rd of June, and the time is now just gone 10:30. Just before the break, my guest and I were talking about revolution cycling for women and a bit about what this is. And we heard a bit about Imrana's journey as to how she participated in this group. And I guess in a sense, Yasmin's headed her up. So she's in charge of this group. So Imrana is heading up the cycling group, and Yasmin is the co-founder, I believe, behind Revolution for Women. Now, earlier in the break, just before the break, Imrana told me that she just took to cycling. So after years of not cycling, she was able to get back onto the bike and cycle without any fear or worry. Imrana, I'm curious because I have to share this. Last year or the year before, actually, it was the year before, we went to Norfolk, and there's Holcombe Estate. I highly recommend it to everybody. Holcombe Estate has, there's a beach to the left, and then there's an estate park, which I thought we'd only spend a couple of hours in, and then we would go and sit at the beach. We ended up spending hours at the Holcombe Estate because they've got boating, cycling, and they've got picnic areas, and they've got a nice little coffee shop and a souvenir shop as well that you can go to. And so, yeah, my husband and children all wanted to cycle. So I said, yeah, I'll be the bag lady. I'll hold everyone's coats and bags, and you all go off. I'll just stay here with the baby. And my husband said, no, you're going to actually get behind a bike and you're going to get on it and you're going to do it. So I did have a good banter with the people that are hiring the bikes, because I asked for stabilizers, shin pads, a helmet, a bodyguard, everything I could think of, because I said, look, it's been years. I think the last time I rode a bike was when I was 13, and that was when I actually officially think I learned how to ride a bike, is when my uncle just literally said to me, pedal, and I'm holding you. And I was pedaling, and then he let go of me, and I was pedaling on my own and cycling. But all I remember screaming is, you broke your promise. You said you wouldn't let go, and you let go of me. But I was cycling, so yeah, I could do it. So I was explaining to them that I also have a baby, but my husband, he took the baby seat thing with his, because she said it was the first time you won't be able to carry a little thing around with you. It's best that you just ride totally on your own. And my eldest son, who actually, mashallah, has taught the rest of the children how to cycle, was just hovering around me every time I'd try and cycle. But I got on there and I cycled, and I remember screaming, saying, I'm actually cycling. And I did actually get a round of applause by the people that were standing by. And I thought, this is so embarrassing. But I rode for about 3 hours, and it was amazing. The best thing I ever did. And I came back and I said, right, we need to do more of that. And 2 years on, I still haven't gone on a bike, but I found it extremely uncomfortable. So talk to me about how you make sure that you're comfortable. What's the safety issues around your dress codes, and how do you make the seat comfortable? Because that was awful. I couldn't sit down on a chair for ages, and I felt very tender and sore. And whilst I had cycled for 3 hours, I thought, oh my goodness, I did not know the repercussions would be this. So talk to me a bit about that.
I assume that's addressed to me. To be honest with you, do not know how to answer that, because I felt the same. What I did do recently was I bought a I think it was like a memory foam saddle, whatever, something, like to put on top. And I think that's helped just to cushion, whatever extra bit of cushioning. But to be honest, I think the only thing I can probably think is the more often that you start cycling, because on the times when I have actually bothered to go out more than once, it's almost like your body kind of adjusts, I think. I don't know, but I'll be honest with you, I haven't done enough of it to be able to really give like some advice. But other than that, in terms of safety, obviously, I guess just the like you mentioned, obviously we always go out, with helmets. Obviously, that's a must. What was the other thing? And yeah, in terms of clothing, I know we talked about it before, but obviously just and I know this is advice that Yasmin's given to some of the ladies who now want to learn to cycle, that obviously you can wear jababs, but or abayas or whatever, but if it's too long, you might need to tuck it in, or think about how that might work. So yeah, I don't know if that answers your question, but
yes, that does answer my question a little bit, I guess. And I guess you're right. The more you do it, the more used to you get to the seat. But I just found that so extremely uncomfortable. But the seat padding and the cushioning, that's quite a good idea. So explain to me how because you don't cycle from home to these places. Do you take the car and park up? So what's the transportation? How do you carry these bikes?
I mean, personally, for me, I haven't gone out. I mean, the couple of times we have gone outside of Luton, it's been as a family. So I do need to give credit to my husband, because he's the one who, after all these years and years and years, said, no, I'm buying everybody in the family a bike and we are going to go cycling. So thank you to him, I guess, for initially getting me back into it. But yeah, so a couple of times we have a bike rack. So he's bought an extra big one, which it can hold 4 bikes, even though while we're driving, it does feel like, oh no, what if one falls off? But so yeah, we've done a couple outside of that. Otherwise, I guess I'm fairly confident enough, so I can, for example, from where I live in Luton, I'm quite comfortable to go down to Wardown, because obviously we're quite blessed in Luton. We have the busway, and that's quite a safe kind of space to be able to just cycle on. A couple of more recent rides have been the busway, but instead of going towards town, going towards Dunstable. And on a nice sunny day, it's a really wonderful kind of ride. And again, I'm okay on roads. However, I have to do a bit of both, sometimes going on to the pavement, because I'm not good with roundabouts yet. And I think that's for me, the really great thing about being part of Revolution Cycling, because even though, yes, technically myself and Firdaus are kind of co-leading the group, it's also an opportunity for me to be able to build on my skills as well. So obviously we'll probably speak a bit later on about our collaboration with Evolve Cycling. So yeah, I guess I'm still on a journey really with it all.
No, that's fantastic. I mean, I was just going to ask the question, what's your preference for cycling? Do you prefer the roadside cycling, or off-road cycling, or private areas? So I guess you've answered that in a way. How do you get rid of the fear? Because when I was cycling in this estate, and it's an estate park, so it's actually designed for people to just go off and cycle safely, so you don't really need to worry about cars. But there was like a tour bus that was going around, and I remember I could hear, and he was driving extremely slowly behind me, but the fear of it, when I could hear it behind me, my heart was racing. And I just remember my son shouting out, "Mum, just like go to a side." And I literally went onto the grass, jumped off my bike and stood there and just let this thing pass. But I was, the fear, I thought, I don't like that. It's just, I know what it's like. So now I'm a bit more, I'm a compassionate driver now when I see cyclists on the road, because I know that heart racing feeling of a big vehicle behind you. So I try not to intimidate the drivers, the cyclists on the road with my driving. I just think I know that feeling. So and it's quite nice. So I highly recommend everyone goes on the road with a bike and has that feeling, so that they're a bit more compassionate. But do you find that it's just one of those things, as you say, with practice, or how do you fight that fear off?
I mean, to be honest, I think for me, it's still there, in the back of my mind when I'm cycling on the road. And there's something about trust, though. There's something, same as I mean, ideally, it should be a trusting between drivers and cyclists, knowing that actually there's a certain amount of space you must give a cyclist if you're driving. And actually, that's including the space that you as a cyclist have to give yourself between yourself and the curb. So actually, you are given quite a lot of leeway on the road, I mean, strictly speaking. I think Luton needs to be a bit better in terms of its cycling lanes. We've got some areas that obviously we have, and that's all good. And those are the ones I try to use mostly. But yeah, again, I think maybe the fact that I've cycled a lot with Firdaus, and she's a very, very able and a confident cyclist, that helps me, because I know I'm with somebody who's a bit more maybe road, what's the word, just a bit clued up, I guess, on those things, you know. Having said that, I do know when we both cycled to Houghton Hall Park, which is a really lovely ride, most of it was off-road, and I was absolutely fine, even though I was like, oh no, what if I fall or something's going to happen? And the time I actually did fall, when we were about to take a selfie, and she was like, oh, let's take a selfie, and I was like, okay, yeah, let me just change the position of my bike, and I just fell off, and it was fell into I mean, I shouldn't say, but, you know, partly into the flower bed, and only a couple of flowers got squashed. But it was the funniest thing, because I was fine all the way here, but you don't know when it will happen. And actually, just to mention on that point, though, just knowing at some point you will probably experience a fall. But, you know, inshallah, it won't be anything like serious, but you potentially will. And you will get up and you will be fine, and you might have a bruise or two. But I think that's with any sports. You could go to martial arts, you could go to football. You know, injury is like it's part of the territory. And I don't think we necessarily fear it, otherwise it'll always inhibit us. So I think it's just saying, it's fine. Okay, I might get hurt, but obviously I'll get up again and just go.
Absolutely, yes. And we have had a message come in from Sister Shana. Assalamu alaikum. I absolutely love cycling. But haven't cycled locally since wearing a hijab. I often feel like people will ridicule me if I was seen out in a hijab or on a bike. Do people make comments? Do other Muslim women locally cycle together? Thank you for your question. And both are very interesting questions, because yes, you know, we did touch on the hijab aspect and people staring. Do you find that you have any funny stares or people look at you oddly?
I think when I'm cycling, yeah, like I said, I think sometimes I do feel it, especially. But to be honest, I also work in the arts, and I'm a bit used to being a little bit odd one out, so I've kind of gotten used to it. But alhamdulillah, I wouldn't say I've experienced anything negative though. So I think if anyone's kind of listening and thinking, oh, I really, it's something that worries me. I mean, on a personal level, I've not experienced it. Whether it's, you know, the way I dress going to the gym or cycling. I mean, I've been, you know, I mean, Yasmin can talk a little bit more, because obviously they do the other part of Revolution Fitness, where we're literally women dressed in hijab and abayas just running, you know, in Wardown Park. It's amazing. The first time I joined them, it was really an empowering space. I thought, wow, you know, we get so used to feeling as though certain spaces don't belong to us. But actually, why? You know, the park belongs to us as much as anybody else, and, you know, we should be able to use it.
Yeah. So, ladies, we have had another message come in from Sister Uzma. Assalamu alaikum, Neelam. I hope you're well. She went to London on the weekend with her sister. Her sister took her cycling and she loved it. Her sister got on a bike with her shalwar kameez, and her kameez stuffed in her shalwar, and she was wearing a dress. And she said normally on that day you don't see anyone in those areas, but that on that day everyone was there. She loves cycling and it's excellent workout. The only part she doesn't like is the sore bottom. They went on the roads and the parks, but it's a very in thing in London. So thank you for your message there, Uzma. And yes, I have my family that live in London, and my parents live near Heathrow, and they have like dedicated cycle lanes, and it's a real big thing in London to be on bikes, and I know that they're trying to encourage it there as much as possible. So in doing so, they have to make these lanes, they have to make cycling a bit more easier, because I know that whenever we go down, the first thing my husband does is he asks my brother to get the bikes out, and him and my brother will just go off and ride. So I think next time I'm going to say, actually, let me get on the bike, you know, and do it myself. But yeah, so they just go off, and he says he feels totally safe because of these dedicated lanes. So yeah, well done to Uzma's sister, riding her bike with her shalwar kameez, you know, and that just goes, I think that answers a bit of Shana's question there about, you know, how do you do it with the attire that you're wearing? If you can stuff your kameez in your shalwar and happily cycle away, I think anyone can do it really. So yeah, good on her for doing that. Now, we've talked about safety. I wanted to ask, what are the challenges that you're facing in the group? Now, I know that there are some limitations. Yasmin, you are hoping to touch on those that can't cycle to learn how to cycle, and that's an aspect that you want to expand on within this group. So what challenges are you facing within the group?
So there have been quite a few challenges to get started. When we first decided that, okay, how are we going to get our ladies to learn to ride a bike? We didn't know where to start. And there was a lady in our group, you probably know her, Yasmin Stannard. She knew the Evolve sisters. So Evolve Cycling Network is a Muslim women's cycling group. They're based down in Watford and Harrow. And it was founded by Ifat Tejani. She's actually been on a show, I think, earlier this week. I got her contact from Yasmin, and she shared a video of them doing a charity campaign on behalf of the lovely Amani, who was still around at that time, and she's in the videos. And it was such an amazing video because they had gone on this group ride. I think there were like at least 40 Muslim ladies in their hijabs. And one of their campaigns, they raised £100,000. So it's no mean feat. So I saw this video, I saw this amazingly inspirational lady, and I contacted her. And I just wanted some advice. Where do we start? How do we get going? And Ifat was so lovely. She's like, let's meet, let's do this, let's get you guys going. And she's been this encouraging force behind us. Alhamdulillah, that we met. And she's achieved great things. They've recently won an award, actually. And she basically said, look, just start small, start with small groups and get some bikes and helmets for safety. So that's how we started. She said, try and start a bike library, try and get some funding and buy some bikes. So we're working on that. We've got a sort of a bike library started. We've got 7 bikes, alhamdulillah, together. But when we've had a sign up for the coaching sessions, there's way more women interested in cycling and learning to cycle. So we can't get all our women in at the moment. And what Evolve have done is they've brought in their coaches. They've actually got about more than 15 trained Muslim cycling coaches, female, to come and help people learn to ride. So I think about 3 or 4 of them will be attending each of our sessions. And we had our first one back in May. And it was really, really successful. We had our cycling team come along and volunteer. So we had about 5-6 ladies bring their bikes along. So we had more bikes to get extra ladies learning. And within an hour, so many girls started to ride, from scratch. It was an amazing sight to see. And there were people walking past because we were based in the Wardown Park tennis courts. And, general public walking past, watching this sight. My sister came along. She, like me, hadn't learned. I've recently learned a few weeks before this started by my husband, my very patient husband. My sister joined, and she was very nervous, and she had the same concerns that most of the ladies in the group have, which was that they won't have balance and they've lost their fitness. And over the years, they've gained a lot of weight. So how am I, in my 30s and 40s, going to learn to ride a bike? That was their concern. But my sister came, they started off the session with just gaining your balance without using the pedals, then moving on 1 pedal at a time with the assistance of a coach. And she did it in record time. In 40 minutes, she was riding a bike.
Wow.
And she was so happy. I've never seen my sister so happy. So that's what spurred us on now, because of the joy it's bringing to people.
Yeah, absolutely. And for you to see your sister achieve that. And I remember my son in lockdown, because we were all in the garden and everything, my son in lockdown was teaching each of my child, and I think really that's to blame why my garden died, because they actually made like a cycling track. So, and I just said to my husband, look, they are learning how to ride a bike, let it go, let the grass just die and let them make their track. And my elder brother came over to see us, and we were sitting in the garden, and my nephew, who at the time was 17, said he didn't know how to ride a bike. And my son stood up and said, really, come on, get here, I'll show you how to ride. And literally my brother was there for 2 hours, and we just sat there talking and talking. At the end of 2 hours, his son was riding a bike, and my brother was so happy. He got up and he paid my son £20 and said thank you so much, because he has been on my case about teaching him how to ride a bike, and I've not had the chance to do it, and he's doing it. And then my son did think, actually now I'm going to start making a little business out of this and teach other people, but he hasn't gone very far. He's done his cousins and no one's paid him yet, but he's thinking maybe I could venture out. So yeah, it's lovely, that confidence that it gives the person that's teaching the person how to ride a bike. So Yasmin, in all of this, you've talked about your sister riding a bike and learning how's your journey with cycling? Have you got any confident on the bike or any better on the bike?
Alhamdulillah, I can ride a bike now.
Oh, yay.
It's come about in the last few weeks. I've been putting it off for a couple of years because, like I said, I've got 3 active boys, and they learnt to ride, and they'd go off on lovely rides with my husband. And I was like, no, I'm not having this. I'm not missing out. I need to learn. But then 2 years down the line, I hadn't learnt. It's one of those things you put on the back burner and then it never happens. Yes. So when all this revolution cycling started, my husband was like, right, that's it. You can't, help lead this group and not ride a bike. Let's do something about it. So he went that day on a bank holiday, went and bought me a bike. And I didn't like it. I didn't like sitting on it, because when I was trying it out, I was like, this seat, it is uncomfortable. That was one of the things that put me off, actually. And I had the same fear that I'll never get the balance, And then we went out for 2 sessions, and I managed to ride a bike, alhamdulillah. And it was so not a big deal. I'd made it a big deal in my head, that, I won't be able to do this, which most of us do. But actually, I wish I had done it earlier, because it's so fun, it's such a lovely thing to be able to do. And I went out last weekend, and my husband played football with the boys, and I went round cycling on my own. And it was this peaceful, calm, lovely time that I had. And I just thought, gosh, our ladies need to experience this, more ladies need to experience this. So I'm really enjoying cycling. The uncomfortableness, I do get your point. And there are a couple of things I can advise, because these days you can get bikes, ladies' bikes, that have more padded, wider seats. So if you're buying a bike, choose one of those. And the other thing is padded cycling shorts, which a few of our ladies have invested in. I don't know if you've seen them. I don't know if your husband's got them, Imrana, but they are the funniest things I've ever seen.
I've seen them.
So funny. I can't even look at them, to be honest.
I know.
When my husband first bought them, I said, you're washing them, you're drying them. I'm not looking at them, because they look so funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, for us women, we can wear that under our jilbabs and our attire, and no one will know.
No, absolutely. Ladies, we have had another message come in from Sister Aisha. She said, Salaam alaikum, and the best feeling ever is riding a bike. And she said, Revolution Women is the best. So she's backing you up, ladies. And I think it's an amazing cause that you have here. And the question I really wanted to know is, you're slowly getting people donating bikes and everything. So what happens to these bikes? Do you have a storage place? Are you hoping to run some more cycling sessions to teach people? So, what's the future for Revolution Cycling for Women?
So at the moment, we have a few of us that keep the bikes. Dr. Walid Manan, who's the founder of the main revolution group, Fitness Revolution, he lives very close to Wardown Park, and he has a garage. So we are forcing him to look after the bikes at the moment. But obviously, while we grow that library, and hopefully, we're reaching out to listeners for anyone who's not using a bike to donate us a bike or lend it for a while. Because we do have plans, Evolve are planning to come and deliver sessions for us. They say on average it takes about 4 to 6 sessions for a lady to learn. Some take less time. So they will be holding sessions with us roughly once a month, and is posted up in our Revolution Women's group. And you do have to sign up because we have to match you up with the right bike, make sure you have a helmet and those things beforehand. And then we are asking for a small contribution to cover the cost of the coaches. What's coming up is that we are going to be in talks with the council, the lady who's in charge of physical activity, because she's heard of our initiative and she wants to help us. So inshallah, it will be growing.
Mashallah, thank you so much. Well, ladies, we have reached the end of the show. Thank you so much for your time. And I have no doubt that listeners were taking positive notes from the show. And inshallah, I wish Revolution Cycling all the best. Assalamu alaikum, and thank you for your time.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My name is Musharraf Hussain. I hope you are enjoying yourself.